Hey guys, this is Bill from Spencer1984.com with another update to the Twister trucks. And since I had a few questions about how I was going to do the extended cab on the Ram, wanted to start by showing that off a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right here at the back of the cab where we've got that little indent, and I'm just going to go with the back of the X-Acto knife down that enough times until I've got the two separated. So now I've got a short bed that I'll set aside for a future project, and I've got the rest of it ready to be extended into the club cab. Now I bring in the AMT cab, and I'm going to use the back half of this, similar to what I did for the Last of Us S10, where I used the back half of the cab on the back of the Blazer. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make myself some masks to protect the part of the cab that I want to keep while I'm cutting off the rest of it. So I've got myself a mirror tile here. It's a nice, flat, relatively clean surface. Got myself a strip of painter's tape here. And I want to extend the cab 20 scale inches. So I'm going to measure that off and make some markings here. And while I'm doing this, it's a good time for a PSA of don't trust the AI overview. First time that I looked up the length of Ram cabs from this generation, the AI overview told me that there was about a 4-foot difference between the regular and club cab. And anybody that's ridden in the back of one of those trucks knows there ain't 4 feet of space back there. The more recent ones got the numbers a little close, but they still couldn't agree. So what I did is I went to one of the brochures. I don't think it was on old car brochures. I don't think they had one for the Ram. But just give a look around. You'll find an official manufacturer brochure, and that'll give you the dimensions that you need. So now that I've got my scale 20-inch mask cut, I'll just take it and apply it to the back of the cab. And I'm going to line it up right with the seam at the back corner of the cab. Just like that. And I cut this long enough so that I can tear it in half. And I've got my mask for the other side. So that way I don't have to cut two and have them be the exact same. Just cut one, tear it in half. I know that it's the same all the way across. Alright, so now I've got these in place. I'm not going all the way across the roof with it. I'm going to cut the roof a little bit longer than the sides, both so that I've got some extra material to work with and so that I don't have all of the seams in the same location. And that's how this part looks once it's cut. So you can see I've got some nice parallel edges. I rounded them a little bit, so that'll ease with filling. Did the same on the roof. On the underside, I beveled it, so I've got a relatively thin edge. And I also went and cut out the back of the door window frame. Near as I can tell, that's where the side window ends. I did the same here on the cab, just cut out that little bit right behind the door frame. And now when I push them together, you can see that makes a pretty reasonable club cab. So now I got to glue the pieces together, but I don't want to do just a butt joint. The white plastic here is way too floppy, and if I compare it to the black plastic, it's actually pulled in just a little bit down at the rockers. So what I'm going to do is inside the black plastic here, I'm going to add a couple of cleats, and that's going to both help align everything and give me a better glue joint. So just put a dab of glue right here on the inside, and just got a scrap piece of styrene here, and that's basically it. This is not anything too fancy. Just want to get it in there with enough material to really hold, and clothespin that together so that it really welds itself nice. I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Little dab of glue. A little little bit more. Just want to make sure I really soften up that plastic, make a nice, tight, strong bond. I'll put in my piece of styrene and clamp it all together. Now, to make sure this really sets, I'm going to leave this overnight to really harden, and I will come back to it tomorrow. All right, we are at tomorrow morning, and taking a look at the back half of the cab. Again, got the windows cut down, got my cleats in place, got my bevel on the roof how I want it, and I think that's ready to go. Cab, cut out the sides like I showed on the previous, but I also made a couple more cuts right here. If you look on the inside, there was a little bit of a flange where it connected to the box, so that was screwing up the alignment. Just cut those down so it's just the skin. And now I'm going to glue them together with some Model Master liquid cement. It's a shame that they don't make this anymore. I still like it for certain specific applications. So this being, I think, my last bottle, but there are some places where it really works great, and this is one of them. I'm going to put a thin bead down the edge of the plastic here, and hit that on both sides. As well as the plate there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the white styrene, because this will soften both sides and make it a really nice strong bond. And go down the other side here. There we go. So I slide them together, make sure that my plates are lining it up. And there you go. Now, with the glue on both surfaces, that's going to make a nice strong bond, but to make sure that it really sets up well, I'm going to leave this overnight as well. I'm going to set it so that the bottom edge is lined up between the black and white parts. Inside looks pretty good. I'll deal with the roof and the window later, but for right now, let's take a look at the Jeep, because I did some work on this as well. The biggest thing is I did remove the visor from the top of the windshield. I thought I was going to have to cut and add some plastic and all that, but turns out there was enough material there that I was able to just reshape the top of the roof, and it worked. I think that looks pretty good. I did test fit the windshield in it, lines up nicely with that. You just need to give it a final polishing, but I think that's pretty much done. Got the rear window panel in. I cut out the louvers like I was talking about. And that just sits on this flange on the inside of the cab, so that lines up nicely. Gonna have to do a little bit of cleanup around the edge, but nothing too terrible. I think just some sanding ought to take care of that. If I have to do any putty work back here, it should be pretty minimal. I also cut out the taillights. I didn't do this in Pink Poison, and I thought it worked okay for that, but I generally prefer clear lenses. I think I'm going to do the same with the marker lights here, actually, because front and rear, now that I've got the taillights cut out, I like that much better, so I think I'm going to do the sides as well. In fact, I think I'm going to do the door handles too. Cut those off and put on some aftermarket parts. I just think that'll look better. For whatever reason, it didn't bug me on Pink Poison, but it's bugging me on this. So at any rate, that's where I am with the Jeep. For the Ram, I put on the first skim of putty, and I'm going to be building this up slow, because with any roof extension, there's always going to be a risk of kind of a dip in the middle, where the two styrene pieces come together. It's just the way that roofs are shaped. They're always domed, and when you're trying to connect two domes, it's going to have that little dip. So I want to keep building that up until it's the right shape, nice and smooth. I've got the sides starting to look okay. I got a bunch to fill in there, but I think that's starting to look not bad. Interior is still pretty clean, not worried about that. And yeah, so that is where I am on the Ram. So, next steps. For the Jeep, I'm going to do the lights, the back of the cab, and probably cut off those door handles like I was talking about. For the Ram, I'm going to keep adding filler to it. Like I said, thin coats, skim, sand, check, skim, sand, check. That's going to take a while, so you might not get an update on that next week because that's going to be really boring. But what I am going to do is I'm also going to start work on engines and chassis. Uh, Whatever I end up doing, I will have an update next week, so you can check back then. And thanks for watching.